Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lucifer here, business and spiritual consultant. I'm gonna try to make this video without channeling Lucifer himself because you guys might not have noticed, but I do channel quite a lot, especially when I start rambling. Those rambles come from the infernal realms, but sometimes I do actually have a plan of action for the video, and then I just get lost in the channeling, and it doesn't matter, but it's just, I had like something to say, but now I forgot what I was trying to say because I got interrupted. So, anyways, whatever. How you guys doing? I hope you guys doing good. I hope you guys doing well. My birthday just passed. It was during the full moon. I don't say the the reason why I didn't announce to you that my birthday was up is because I have a lot of witches after my ass. So I cannot tell um the my birthday, because if the people out here knows exactly when I was born, I might be in a little bit of a predicament. So unfortunately, I did not get to celebrate my birthday with y'all as much as I wanted to, and trust me, I wanted to. It was fucking killing me, man. It was fucking killing me, bro. Like it was emotional damaging. Emotional damage. I got some emotional damage from that shit. I ain't gonna lie. So, anyways, what is the point of me coming here today? Well, um, first of all, I would like to say I'm sorry for the state. I wanted to be a little bit more grandiose for this video. I was gonna talk about. I told you guys on my last video that I was gonna talk about Lucifer's cage. But I have so much energy in me. Like I can feel the energy from that specific subject bubbling in me so fucking hard that I feel like fuck the grandioseness. I'm just gonna fucking do it. Before I lose this energy, or maybe I don't want to lose this energy. I don't know what this is about. I don't know what this is about right here, but there's something calling me to fucking do this fucking video. And I've been called to do a lot of things recently that don't necessarily make sense. You know what I mean? But I don't care. Like, I just fucking do it. Like, believe it or not, I've been called to play certain video games, and I don't know if it's okay for me to talk about this. I have no idea. I hope it is. Okay, it's not. It's not okay for me to talk about this. So let me. How can I phrase this without giving up? Okay, so what I'm gonna say is, I was called the other day to play a video game, and basically yesterday and the day before, um, and the day before that, basically the whole week, I was called to play specific games at a specific time, and I learned something during those events, which was insane. Cause it has something to do with I can't say, because I just heard shh in my mind. I heard like shh. Anyway, so um what I'm gonna say, it has something to do with targeted individuals and shit like that. And that's a little bit vague. That's actually too vague. But it has something to do with it has something to do with um mm, how can I say this without like releasing a secret that I'm not supposed to release here? It has something to do with your imagination, right? So I'm gonna just leave it at that. It has something to do with your imagination. So to me, I was given a secret. I was given a secret here, and it's kind of amazing though, and I kind of want to talk about. Well, I'm going to talk about it without really talking about it here, but there is a it's like okay, this is a perfect way to explain it. So there's a horror movie back in the day, like fuck the horror movie, like in the voodoo culture, like in voodoo culture, there's like little stories, to scare kids, that parents used to tell each other and shit, and it's kind of like I now have the power. I have now grown into having the power to do this specific thing that's in interpolated in this story. And one of the kids' stories that we used to tell children to scare them is that certain magicians could make um, a doll speak. Right? They could make a doll what's the name of that horror movie? Alice, I think, something like that, or there's a horror movie that came out not too long ago where it's like a Annabelle, right? Like Annabelle, right? So, we tell kids, oh, if you don't go to sleep, the little doll is gonna eat you and blah blah. Little cutesy fartsy shit, right? So, but now I feel that I'm actually capable of doing that. Like I'm actually capable of bringing dolls to life, right? And of course, I'm not talking about dolls. I'm talking about like you know, I'm talking about like the video games, right? Because to me they're like dolls. Like the characters in the games are like dolls, right? It's like playing with dolls, like playing with like GI Joes and shit like that, right? But imagine if your GI Joe came to life, right? So there's only one problem. I have come into the realization that what I'm doing is very dark ass shit. And I kind of understand. I didn't understand why people were scared of me, and now I kind of do. Because it's just because to me it feels like everyday shit. But I have to realize that what I'm doing is not everyday shit. And I don't realize that. And I shit you not. I'm not even kidding. I do not see any of the things that I do as over the top or unnatural. To me, it's perfectly natural, right? But because of that, it has given me a psychosis, right? There is a psychosis in my mind that's going on because I'm doing these things, but I don't realize that I'm doing dark ass fucking magic, right? And the psychosis is sometimes I get pissed off at my own creation. I get pissed off at my own creation. And I'm like, and I guess the other day I finally realized that, like, it finally came to my head, like, dude, like, the reason why you're seeing the shit that you're seeing is because you're doing dark ass fucking shit. Like you're doing fucking like demonic shit. Like of course it's fucking nuts. Like duh. Like and it just came to it's not like I didn't know. It just came to me. Like it just like I had like this it's like an epiphany. Like I had an epiphany. I was like, wait the fuck a minute. Like cuz I'm sitting there, you're sitting there. It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. And basically I was insane. I had temporary insanity. I had temporary insanity because I was doing the same thing over and over again, but I was expecting a different result. And what I mean by that, hold on. I don't mean what you think I'm going to say. What I mean by that is things work in a specific way. And they're supposed to work in that specific way because that's just how they fucking work. But in my head, I was kind of like, I wasn't taking that into consideration. I wasn't taking that, okay, if I'm doing dark ass shit, you're gonna see dark ass shit. Like, duh, like, obviously. So I'm sitting here and I'm playing with the fucking dolls and I'm bringing the dolls to life. But it's kind of, I don't know, like I think it's because of my Christian background. So in my head, I'm kind of like expecting the doll to act a specific. I had an unreasonable expectation of my own magic, right? Like I was expecting, because it's not just my magic, it's just magic. Period. It's not like, like it's a technique that's been around for thousand eons of ages and shit, right? So it's not my magic. It's not it's not attributed to me and me alone, right? So I had an unrealistic, irrational expectation of what I was doing, right? Because you are controlling it. You are controlling the magic. You are forming the entity. You are creating the entity. You do have power over the entity. That is true. But you created a specific type of entity. And because you created a specific type of entity, you have to expect that entity to act the way that it always acts, because that's what you created. That's the thing that you wanted, right? So I guess there's a double meaning there somewhere. Thank you, Lucifer, for clearing that up. So anyways, like I had an epiphany, and I was kind of like duh, like I had a no duh moment, right? Like, so now I guess that's it. That's all I wanted to say. There's no now or nothing. It's just, it is what it is. Am I showing off right now? Maybe a little bit. I'm not showing off. I can read your mind, and I know what you're thinking, and that's what you're thinking, right? So this is actually encouraging, right? Because most of my videos are encouraging. It's just people don't like the way that I encourage them, right? It's not that my videos are negative, or like they're actually very inspirational. Like, this is inspirational. Like, but the thing is, society has deemed these kind of dialogues to be negatively correlated to complete evil stuff, right? So as a magician, you don't get, or mystic, or all of the above, you don't get, you don't get the chance to express these things to other people, to your best friend, to your wife, to your family. You don't get to express those things in a cohesive fashion as I'm doing right now on this screen, right? As you notice, I'm not saying this shit to somebody else. I am making a video about it because with the idea that, well, this might be a good idea to talk about because there's probably other people doing the same things, or that are capable of doing these things, but they don't get the chance to express themselves, and they might feel some kind of way about the shit that they're doing because they're getting judged by society because of the way that they do things, or the things that they do, and they don't have the freedom to actually express themselves, and they have to stay in the dark, and they have to hide in shadows like fucking ninjas because people just fucking hate that sort of shit, and yada yada yada. The list goes on, blah blah freaking blah, right? So when I make these videos, I don't really make these videos to show off, or to act like a jerk, or to rub things in people's faces. Pause. Like, no, I actually make these videos to like encourage people to keep doing what they're doing, and to be careful, to drive safe and responsibly, right? And also enjoy um their own capabilities, their own power, because these things are supposed to be normal. A long time ago, before the earth was destroyed by a meteor, right? Before a meteor blew the ever living F out of the whole earth, right? These things were normal. Everybody could do this shit. It was like, it was like riding a fucking bike, right? It was just everyday shit, and just that's just how people lived. you know, it was everyday shit. But now we've gone so far down the line, and we've listened to so many, and we strived for practicality so much that we actually forgot a lot of things. It's like Terrence Howard with his whole like one times one equals two shit, right? He's right. I'm right for saying that shit, and he's right for saying that. I'm not saying he's a good person. I'm just saying he got a point, right? But the thing is, the problem is, it's not that he's saying like the math is wrong and it's a fucking conspiracy and we should fucking burn churches and all kinds of shit. That's not, that's not what he said. I'm fucking around here, but I'm trying to paint a picture here. Um, but not that we shouldn't burn churches, but whatever. That's another story for another day. But what I'm trying to say is you're going nuts. You're losing your shit over something, and you're kind of like, you think it's a conspiracy. You think you got a fucking, it's a black ops. It's not necessarily that it is a conspiracy. It's not necessarily that it is a black op. It's not necessarily that it is blacked out documents somewhere in the CIA file in Langley or some shit like that. It's not just that. We actually forgot. It's fucking amnesia. Like it's like we literally forgot. We just forgot, bro, because we spent so much time racing towards making things simpler that we actually did make things simpler. Like a lot of, because the thing is, you have to understand, like last year I was talking about, I had this thing where I was talking about cars. I had this thing I was talking about cars 2 years ago. I was talking about cars. Cars are a work of art. Your car has a life, right? Your car is something. Your car has horsepower in it. The inspiration for a car came from horses, right? It came from carriages, right? Before we used to ride horses, and then somebody invented something so they could sit in the back of the horse instead of on the horse, and then we created carriages, right? And then we found a way to, instead of having a horse dragging you everywhere, we put a motor, we put an automation in front of the carriage, and now you had cars, you had vehicles, right? So now you don't just have vehicles, you have cars, right? A car is what you put in the back of a horse. That's called a car. What we have today are vehicles. They're not cars. Cars are for horses. And your vehicle is the idea of the combustion force is correlated to horsepower, right? So you have horsepower inside of your car. So back then, vehicles were cars that were trolleyed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 horses. Now you have horsepower, right? So spiritually, the car is the same. The vehicle that we drive have the same, or spiritually linked to horses, because that's where the inspiration came from. That's where the inspiration came from. And then now you have designs for vehicles. So now you have enthusiasm. You have enthusiasm. You have chemical reactions, positive chemical reactions, serotonin levels when you are designing or riding a car, driving a car, right? So there is a spiritual value to the car, just like a horse has a spiritual value because it's a living, breathing uh being. Well, so does your car, right? So your car has a soul. You can create souls. It's not true that it's only God that can create souls. We create souls all the time. We just don't notice. As a matter of fact, you can put somebody else's soul inside of a human. There's nothing easier than that. Okay, it's not that easy. You know what I mean? It's not that easy, but we do that too. We do that too. When you look at celebrities, sometimes it's the fans of the celebrity that instilled a soul inside of that celebrity. But it's not all celebrities that are like that. It depends on what kind of person you are, because there's some people that are naturally rebellious, right? People that are naturally rebellious will not accept something coming from the mass, right? But if you are, I'm not saying there's any celebrity in particular that is a alternate soul from what they used to be, whatever. Some people will call it idolatry, right? When you're idealizing a person, right? When you are idealizing a person, then you're transferring your energy to that person, right? So you can pump a lot of energy into a human being, right? Which could change that human being into something else. Or vice versa, that celebrity could actually change you. But it all depends on how you see things, right? And that's another thing that I have realized the other day, right? So I was talking about the Ouroboros, right? So magic is an Ouroboros, but it's way worse than that. And I'm starting to notice here because I'm not just going around in circles here. And in my head, I thought I was just going around in circles, but I'm not just going around in circles, right? I don't know if you know what sign I'm trying to do here with my finger, but that's not a circle, right? It's like a figure eight, but that collapses into itself, right? There's a word for that. I forgot what the word is. A something strip. It's a strip something. I don't know what the fuck. Wait a minute. Give me a second. Anyway, can't find it. I'll find it later. I'll tell you about it later. Um, I forgot the word for it. So basically, I'm not just going around in circles. I'm going around in circles, but I'm going in one place into another place, and I'm exiting the other place and going back to where I was. So I'm going in circles, but I'm also going in weird angles. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is that that's how life is, right? It depends on the person. Of course, for a mystic or magician, for us, we actually notice it and we actually enjoy it, or we work around it, or we work with it. It depends on the person, what their judgments are, what their values are, what their principles are, what their agenda are, like what their agenda are, and so on and so on. So everybody's different in that notion. But you have to understand that a soul is something that is not, there's a lot of things that we attribute to God that is not only attributed to God. A human is capable of creating a soul. Of course, there has to be everything that is created has to have something that created it, right? But at the same time, is that really true? What if God is inexistent and he's just part of the figure eight, right? So God would be like the middle part of the figure eight, right? That intertwines within itself, right? It's the middle part. But you can go outside of God and then come back into God and then go outside the other side of God and then come back into God and then go the other side and then go. But it depends on how you perceive life. Of course, what I've just said might sound demonic and blasphemous and profane and so on, and all the insults, all the pejorative terms that you can think of and look for in the dictionary and comment it on the comment section. I do not give a shit. But you cannot deny the fact that it's true. Because if God was created, then who created God? And if something created God, then who created that person? So asking yourself those infinite questions that you will never find an end to, right? Is basically useless. What is practical or pragmatic would be, well, how much am I of all of this that we call a reality? That would be a better question than asking the question that who created God, right? Because you'll never stop asking. Even if somebody tells you who created God, then you would ask again, like, well, who created that person? And then somebody would actually give you the answer to that, but then you would ask the question, well, who created that person? And then the person would answer that, and then it would never stop. Even if you would meet an entity that actually could answer you, you would never stop asking that entity the same question over and over again, because there is always something behind something behind something. So the only logical explanation to any of this is that God comes within you and then goes without of you, and then goes back in and then goes out. But that's a circle, right? I'm talking about an intertwining infinite loop, right? A figure eight, infinities, the figure eight sideways. So what I'm talking about is infinity, right? So what is infinity? And I feel like that is also a redundant question. Stop asking yourself redundant questions. It's not important. What's important is, how does infinity work? And then you stumble upon creating little dolls, creepy little dolls that do creepy little shit. Like, you know what I mean? Or you end up manifesting things and whatnot, right? And that's more interesting, and it's healthier. Also, it's a lot more healthy to realize that infinity is all around you, and you are also part of infinity. And then you can proceed to live a life without worries, right? You can proceed to live your life without thinking about about worrying about God this, God that, and devil this, devil that. Like forget about all that shit. Forget about all that shit. Just realize that you are here, and also realize that you are beyond here, right? You're here, but you're not here. This is the thing that I always say. I'm here, but I'm not here. Enlightened people, smart people always say that. They say that like, I'm here, but I'm not here. When you're enlightened, you realize you realize that you're here, but you're not here at the same time, right? A lot of people think I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm never here. I'm always everywhere else, but it looks like I'm here. Like, yeah, now I'm being a dick. Like, anyways, but but it's a funny notion. It's a funny notion. So, anyways, I got off track for like 30 minutes, and the video is supposed to be about Lucifer's cage, but it's a good intro to what I'm about to say about Lucifer's cage, because there's a lot of disbelief, and you have to understand that infinity is huge, right? And then we get hit with a sense of scale, right? The sense of scale is wonky, like I always say. Like the scale is always wonky, especially when it comes to physical humans. We believe and then we don't believe, and then we believe again and then we don't believe again, and then we believe again and then we don't believe, and then we don't believe and then we believe, and then it's always like, right? So in the case of conspiracies, aliens and things like that, right? Um most of the time the reason why we don't believe these things is because we don't believe that there's anything else outside of us. And what I mean by that is we don't realize how much that is outside of us is actually within us, which is weird, And when you don't have that sort of notion, well, when you look at life, you tend to have a lot of disbelief in what other people might tell you. I'm not saying you should believe anything everybody says. As a matter of fact, we're living in a world right now where there's a lot of distrust going on. Where even spiritual people are literally saying don't trust anybody right now, and I tend to agree. Nevertheless, there are some specific story that was always told traditionally that we should probably pay attention to a little bit more, right? Or that people are already paying attention to. So, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Let's get to the story. So, Lucifer's cage, right? So, Lucifer fought a. First of all, I have to say that Satan, Lucifer, because it feels like it's the end of the world right now, and it is. It feels like it's the end of the world right now, and I feel like it is. I feel like it's the end of the world right now. I feel like we are going to hell in a handbasket. But, but, I don't think that the reason why we're going to hell is because of some all seeing, all knowing entity that's mad at us and decided to just end it. No, we are creating this end of the world because, and it's easy to see that we are that we are the ones creating this end of the world because we are idealizing stupidity. We are idealizing the only idolatry that humans are currently guilty of is ignorance and stupidity. That's the only idolatry that we're committing right now. We are not pagans. People are not pagans. Some people are. Not everybody's a Christian. Some people are. Not everybody's a Satanist. Some people are. Not everybody's a occultist. Some people are. So we're not doing any idolatry. It is not rampant. Idolatry is not rampant. We're not fixated on a specific entity at all. The only entity that we are purposefully fixated on because of greed, because of jealousy, because of envy, is ignorance and stupidity. We are putting all of our energy and resources in committing events that are unnecessary on a consistent basis. Conformity. We are idealizing conformity. And this is the reason why the world is going to shit. Because we're not idealizing intellect. We're not idealizing know-how. We're not idealizing handiness. We're not idealizing creativity. We're not idealizing imagination. We're not idealizing freedom. We're idealizing slavery. We're idealizing ignorance. We're idealizing hate. These things that are attributed to the devil have absolutely nothing to do with the devil. These are personal choices that we make when we go and vote. The devil did not make anybody vote for Joe Biden. The devil didn't make anyone vote for Joe Biden. That's not fucking true. That is just a bold-faced fucking lie. That's a bold-faced lie. No, there is no demon. You can't tell me demons banded up together one night and they say, okay, we're gonna take over the world and we're gonna get 175 million people to vote for this guy. That is absurd. That is completely insane to say. It's just no. Just no. Just fucking no, bro. Like, just no. No. Right? There are entities involved in what we're doing. There are some. But it's a choice. It was a choice. Those entities only made it easier for the people to do the things that they wanted to do it. And that's why these entities were called. It is not the entity itself that decided to do this sort of thing. And the entity decided to do it because he felt like doing it, because probably the offering was just right, because the explanation was sincere enough. He addressed the entity with enough respect and warmness. The entity said, "Oh, you know what? I'ma do it because I like you. I'ma do it because I like you." And that's it. But there's no way millions of people were simultaneously possessed into voting for something they knew they wasn't supposed to vote for. This has nothing to do with religion. This has everything to do with personal values, with personal principles, with personal agendas. And that's the end of the story. And that's why the world is crumbling. The world is crumbling because we are actively making it crumble. And instead of looking within ourselves and realizing that we are choosing to do these things, we are choosing to create an apocalypse, we are choosing to create a sadness and distortion and disturbance and destruction in the world, we blame everything that is not living and breathing, that are almost not capable of touching you. Almost. We're blaming these entities for things that we ourselves are solely responsible for. Apparently, the birds outsiders agree. I'm not making this video saying that this needs to stop, because I don't think it is going to stop, because a lot of what I'm talking about involves billions of dollars. What I'm talking about involves billions of dollars. Billions of dollars that a lot of people are not ready to give up at any time soon. It involves a lot of power and corruption that a lot of people are not willing to give up any time soon. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen is there's going to be a fucking rapture. Just like the fucking Bible said it was going to be. But it's not because God was pissed off and this person was pissed off and blah, blah, blah. No, we are heading that way because that's where we are choosing to go. We are the captain of this ship, and we're driving the ship right into a fucking tsunami. And no one fucking cares. Bruh, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm jumping ship before that motherfucker hits that goddamn tsunami. Bro, like, hey, my nigga, I am jumping ship way before that motherfucker hits that tsunami. Way before. Fuck that. So Lucifer's cage. Lucifer had an argument with this entity. This entity allegedly defeated Lucifer. Allegedly. And you're gonna understand why I say allegedly in a minute. So now Lucifer is living within a realm. He has been cast out and excluded. He was sent into the abyss to dwell there until the end of time, or the end times, depending on which version of the Bible that you read. The paraphrase that I just noted might be different. Who effing knows? The story, the traditional story of the Bible in Genesis and Apocalypse, might have a lot of things to do actual with an actual war that happened beyond our consciousness, or if you believe everything you read, with our consciousness, because this war was over the consciousness of man at the end of the day, whether it was negative or positive. So this entity has now created a campaign to go against Lucifer, because this entity knew or suspected or forebode the return of this entity. So since he knew that this entity, that Lucifer wasn't going to stop, that he was going to come back one day, then he created a campaign to make sure everyone on the planet, whether it is true or not, that's what happened. I'm not accusing anybody of anything at this moment, right? As of right now, at this moment, I'm not speaking from an accusatory standpoint. But he created a campaign in order to make sure everybody knows who this man is. Speaking of Lucifer, he handed out books. He had shepherds rallying the sheep. He handed out instructions in case of, or warnings for anybody that would follow in his footsteps. So now we're going to go back to the first half of my video when I'm talking about the infinite figure 8. Because how do you get, so, but before we do that, so, well, okay, so let's just say there's a correlation there, right? And let's move forward. So the question now is, how do you get an entity, how do you get an entity that is known to be on the other end of the spectrum? Because at the end of the day, you're the same. You're twins, right? How do you lock yourself up? That has to be very hard to do. That can't be something, oh yeah, I just punched him in the face and then he was knocked out and I threw him in the fucking abyss. I don't think it's that easy. I don't think fighting yourself would be that, I don't think it would be that easy. I do not think so. So how do you stop yourself? That's an interesting question. How do you stop yourself? Well, you can't really stop yourself, right? But what you can do is slow a part of you down. What you can do is remove power or lower power from one side of yourself, right? While pumping up the juice on the other side. So now you have religion, you have Christianity, you have Catholicism, you have a Bible, you have the 7 deadly sins, you have evil, you have darkness. Black is evil, dark, black, evil. No, no. Education, governments, conformity. So, how do you put the devil inside of a cage? What you guys think the cage? So the prison that Lucifer is locked in is just a regular ass prison. It's just a regular ass prison that anybody. You can't put an entity like that inside of a regular ass prison. That's impossible. Can you put God in jail? You could just put some fucking handcuffs on God and put him in jail. That makes no sense. What you're saying is absolutely nonsensical. It makes no fucking sense. So the devil is in the details. You guys are looking at the story from a face value. But you need to use your head here. How did he cast him out? How do you cast out an entity that powerful? Oh, well, he was an angel and yada yada. Wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute. He was an angel. Allegedly. Presumably, he was an angel. But this specific angel, let's say God was light. So he is everything, he's light and everything, blah blah, right? But there's another aspect of light, which is darkness. And darkness is everywhere. Just as much as light. As a matter of fact, if you shut the lights off, darkness. That's automatic. Like there's no escaping. So that power is just as strong as the light is. Right? If God represents light and Lucifer represents darkness, it is what it is. You can't just fucking I just socked him. I just socked him real quick and that was the end of the fucking story. Bullshit. That's just complete bullshit. That's not how that happened. What happened was you used magic in order to put him in a cage. And Lucifer's cage is made out of you. Your soul is what is keeping Lucifer's cage up. God is using you as a tool to lock up his other half. Always did, always will. But the funny thing is, Lucifer is so powerful that regardless of if he's in the cage or not, he can still have influence over the world. He can still manage from where he is. The problem with Lucifer's cage is that it's it there is an entanglement within you and the notion of the darkness, right? You need to understand it's not only in Taoism or Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism or Hinduism where there is a process of duality of feeding one wolf over the other, right? Some people feed the white wolf, some people feed the dark wolf, right? But in Taoism, Tibetan Buddhism, and Indian Buddhism, Indian Indian philosophy, right? Uh, the dark aspect is not in a cage. These people accept both ends. It's only when we talk about Western or European religion where one of the aspect has to absolutely be completely decimated. And there is a reason for that. Because it creates imbalance. And that's why the world is in turmoil right now. Because we are living in imbalance, perpetual imbalance. An imbalance that we have spent so much money and we have spent so much time carefully and strategize on the masterful levels that it doesn't matter how many times I repeat what I have just repeated or show proof of what I have just repeated, no one effing cares. The only response that society will give you when you bring these things to the table will be that they've gone too far. We're too far gone, which is true. So now only a select few of people can actually profit from this power which I speak of. Only a small portion of the population can enjoy the power which I speak of. Not everybody. Not now. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Not ever. So, yeah, I sit here and I try to explain these concepts. But I do it because I know that these concepts will end in the right ear at the end of the day. Because if you are listening to this, it's because you're already interested in these things. And a lot of people are not interested in these things and they will not click on this video. So the people listening to this are the right people that are supposed to be listening to this. Like, yeah, that's how that works. So, of course, I do clickbait too. I ain't gonna lie. I do clickbait too, but it's good. I don't think I clickbait a little bit. It's a little bit trolly, but it's a good thing. I don't see it as a bad thing. I don't see it as a bad thing. And if these words, because at the end of the day, it's still what I said is still relevant, because if you did get clickbaited and you watched this video till the end, then you were the right person to talk to. Because if you get clickbaited and you don't like you don't just refresh the page or go somewhere else, this video was supposed to reach you. You're one of the persons that were supposed to hear this at the end of the day, regardless. So anyways, let's get back to Lucifer's Cage. So the magic trick is simple. We have used our energy, and we do it to people in real life. I'm going through the same process. I'm inside of a cage because I have too much power. The Illuminati do things around me. They do things to me. They try to humiliate me. They try to make me look bad. They try to block my videos. They try to shadow ban me. They fucking slander me. They chase me all up and down the fucking street, right? They follow me everywhere. They're fucking doing a whole bunch of fucking garbage. They fucking they do black magic on me. They fucking try to smother my videos by doing stupid fucking events that they know that people are just because they know about vibrations. Your enemy knows you and they know themselves. Right, that's the thing about the Illuminati. They are you. So everything you know, they know it too. Not everything, but a lot of it. Right? So you have to understand that they're going to fight you the same way that you fight them. Right? And most people don't understand that. Right? They got resources everywhere. If you're a witch, they got witches. If you're a fucking soldier, they got soldiers. If you're a police officer, they got police officer. If you're a drug dealer, they got drug dealers. If you're a fucking this, they got that. If you're a fucking that, if you're a doctor, they got doctors. If you're a therapist, they got therapists. If you're a psychiatrist, they got psychiatrists. They're everywhere. So, anywho. I know how it feels because they do it to me. And the cage that's around me is a spiritual cage. It's a spiritual cage because I go around. Because the thing is, there's one thing, like physically being stopped from doing something is different. Physically being stopped from doing something is you try to go somewhere and somebody says, no, you can't come in. He's like, he puts his hand on you and he's like, fucking no, get the fuck out of here. No, right? That's physically stopping somebody. Spiritually stopping somebody goes as simple as, I don't like this guy's face. I don't like the fact that he's coming here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go tell everybody in the space to say or hate him so that he leaves. That's another way to stop somebody. That's a spiritual way to stop somebody. And when you do that enough, it becomes a cage. It becomes walls. You're building walls around that person, right? Of course, most people crumble in those walls. They lose themselves because they're not aware that they're inside of Lucifer's cage too, because they think they're Christians, because they think God is on their side and whatnot and blah, blah, blah. They think God exists and he's protecting them and shit like that. But they don't understand that. They don't understand what God represents. They don't understand what God means. They don't understand the notion of God. And it's not easy to understand because it's not in your face, right? It's in your face. But your third eye has to be open to be able to actually see God, to actually understand God and society, right? And once you understand the representation of God in society, then you understand your place in society. When you understand that this is heaven and nothing has changed, and you neither, I'm not saying you change, I'm not saying they change, nothing has ever changed in a long ass fucking time. If anything has ever changed at all at some point, which I'm pretty sure it hasn't, then you start to understand what is Lucifer's cage, right? You understand the magic behind putting a omnipotent God inside of a jail cell, because that's virtually impossible to do. But you might not be able to stop this person, but you can build walls around the person. If you build invisible walls, it's like in the movie X-Men, right? Magneto is a omega level, no pun intended, no offense meant. Magneto is almost omnipotent. Magneto is incredibly strong, right? He's fucking Magneto, right? He's inside of a glass. They have to put a glass. They have to put him in a glass cage because he can control everything. There's nothing he can't control, right? So you have to put entities like that in. You have to put a glass ceiling over entities like you and me, because we can't really be stopped. But what if you're not physically trying to stop the person? What if you find a way to not physically stop the person, but build walls around him so that he may not reach certain things that he's looking for or he's trying to do? That's a lot easier. That's a lot easier and a lot safer, might I add. It's pragmatic. It's very practical. So the worst part is they found a way to get people like us to actually put a cage around where we came from, which is even worse. Everybody got fooled. Every time you attribute an agenda, a negative agenda towards an entity, you blame him for all the evil, he becomes the goat. That's why Lucifer's head is the goat. You make him the scapegoat for everything wrong that's in the world. You make him the scapegoat for everything wrong that's in the world, where he's not. But the thing is, you got the energy of an entire planet holding you in that position. So now you can't reach for things. There's an invisible wall stopping you. I mean, it's going to take more than that, but it's still relevant. It's still there. It's still painful. It's still sad. So now we're at a point where we need to break that cage. We're at a point where we need to remove that cage from where it is. Your mind has the power to keep a God in check. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is your mind is actually currently, at this present time, keeping a God in line. But mind you, I would say it's keeping an innocent God inside of a cage. Because we believed in all the slanderism. We believe in the propaganda. And thanks to a small portion of people that believed in Lucifer since the beginning, I guess it's thanks to those people that he's still around to be able to do what he does, whatever it is that he does. If it wasn't for those rebellious few, this would have been way worse. What we're seeing today would be worse. As hard as it is to believe, what we are seeing today would be at least twice as bad. Twice. So all of this propaganda, all of these words, all of these vibrations, all of these energy that you have polarized within yourself and society are all going in one place. Billions of people. We're talking about some Son Goku ass shit, spirit bomb shit. Well, that's what we're talking about right now. Some literal universe spirit bomb shit right now, bruh. And it really makes you wonder how these people that control the world come up with some of the ideas that they come up with to torture humanity. It really makes you wonder. Because a lot of people will not believe that the Illuminati is actually a representation of God on earth. Even though the simple notion of as above, so below exists, even though a lot of people are aware that reality is just a mirror and that we're basically mirroring heaven or what is called heaven. So if we're mirroring everything that's up there, and then we also believe in as above, so below, then who is God? Who is God? People walk around, oh, well, I'm God. No. I mean, yes, but no. Not that way, you're not. Like, be honest with yourself. You might be a God, but you are not God. You are not the God of the Bible. So, this video is very hard for me to make. It's very, very, very hard. I'm trying to make this video without losing my fucking shit. You know, like, I'm trying to do this without losing my fucking mind. But it's just the unfairness. And it's not just for him. I'm talking about for myself too. Because it's a powerful cage, but at the same time it's so easy to break. Right? It's a glass wall. Glass is easy to break, but yet you can't break it for some reason because the damn thing is too thick or something. And it's not just that. I realize that there's so many people walking around inside of that same cage, not necessarily Lucifer's cage, because not everybody's a fucking demon or represents themselves as a demon or things of that manner. But they're walking around inside of a fucking cage. Not that they build for themselves, because some people do that. Some people build cages for themselves, but that's another story for another day. That has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm saying. But they're walking around, and these fucking things are creating cages around these people, and these people feel alone. They feel alone. They feel attacked. They feel ostracized. They feel rejected by society, which is true and not true at the same fucking time. The thing is, Lucifer learned how to become Zen. Lucifer is the greatest Zen master in the known universe. A lot of people don't understand that about Satan. Satan is an incredibly patient person because he's been in a cage since the beginning of time. So I believe that Zen Buddhism actually comes from Satan. I believe that all knowledge that we have on earth comes from Satan. As a matter of fact, even the Bible says it itself. The story of the Watchers, fallen angels came to earth and taught men everything. It wasn't God. God didn't show anyone nothing. It was a bunch of fallen angels, angels that was sent to earth, and they decided to teach humans everything they knew because they felt like humans were pathetic. So instead of having a bunch of pathetic looking creatures walking around, they say, you know what? We're going to help these sons of bitches. Fuck it. We're going to help these sons of bitches. And that's the end of that. Everybody on board? Everybody say, yep, let's do it. That's why Lucifer got locked up in a cage in the first fucking place for the same fucking thing. He gave the apple to Eve. God was unhappy, threw everybody out. Watchers taught humans how to do stuff. He wasn't happy, killed everybody. It's funny how every time somebody tries to show something to a human, they're the ones that get fucking killed. It's a very remarkable coincidence. You gotta start from the beginning. Show us the proof. Go read the fucking Bible. It's in the first fucking few pages. You don't even need to read the whole fucking thing. At least 20 pages in, you're gonna fucking find the truth. At least 20, which is very easy to do. Anybody can read 20 pages. It might take you a week because you don't read and shit, but it's just 20 pages, not a lot. Compared to the whole 3,000 fucking pages in there, 20 pages is not a lot. Shit, I might be exaggerating when I'm saying 20. It might be 10 or 6 or 4. Like, okay, no, it might be 20 because the first fucking pages is just a list of fucking names of everybody that existed in the beginning of time. So the story actually starts a little bit later. So that's why I said 20. And then there's the preface and the blah, 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 and the intro and whatnot, whatever, which you don't have to read. So I'm probably talking about like 3 pages. So I'm thinking about all the unfairness that's going on right now. And yeah, I could sit here and complain about how unfair my life is and the Illuminati's doing shit to me and blah, but the thing is, I just can't help but think, like, I look at conspiracy theories too. Like, I know MK Ultra existed in Canada since the 1970s because there's the documentary on YouTube. The guy he's a Canadian. He's fucking crying his fucking ass out. He's crying his eyes out, bro. Pardon my language. He's crying his eyes out. A grown ass man. He's like 45 years old or some shit. He's like 40 years old, crying his eyes out, man, because of all the horrible shit that they did to him back in the 70s, which was MK Ultra. And they were doing the same shit. At the same time they were doing it in Canada, they was doing it in Atlanta. They was doing it in California. California. People hate California. But the thing you don't know is that these crazy motherfuckers that probably come from California are doing their MK Ultra shit on Californians even more than everybody else on the planet. Why? That's weird. That's weird shit. Fucking, what's it called? Voice of God Project. The Voice of God Project is when they're using 0.2 hertz wavelength to send messages to your brain. It's a good thing that the brain actually conducts a lot more than just 2 hertz of electricity, or else we'd be fucking screwed. Fucking HAARP. Microwaving fucking molecules in the air to make it rain, or all kinds of fucking shit that they want to do. Chemtrails, throwing chemicals over your fucking, that shit's for real. That shit's for real, bruh. That shit's for real, bro. They fucking use planes and they throw chemicals over a goddamn town, and everybody in the fucking town just loses their fucking minds. There's people walking outside today that they had no idea that they were acting completely fucking crazy on that day. They had no idea. For some reason, I'm not affected by it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I do know when I see that plane and I see that chemtrail, I'm like, oh shit, today's gonna be a crazy ass motherfucking day. And chemtrails ain't nothing new. The Aztecs knew how to do chemtrails. The only fucking thing I don't understand is how in the shit were they fucking making chemtrails when they didn't have planes? The Aztecs knew that when they saw lines in the sky in specific patterns, they knew what it represented. How is that even possible? So these people are doing a lot of horrible shit. And the people that should be blamed for the horrible shit that's happening are not the ones being blamed for the horrible shit that's happening. They're blaming everybody else except the right people. I'm not saying the Christians should be blamed for that shit because the Christians don't know the damn thing.